Pokémon Scarlet and Violet have been out for nearly 2 years now, with them being received as pretty solid games, aside from a few bugs and glitches of course. Overall, it's a game with great storytelling, fun mechanics, and a lovable cast of characters. And with every new generation of Pokémon comes a manga adaptation, which is what we're going to be talking about today, as it's been a little over a year since the Pokémon Adventure Scarlet and Violet manga has started. So I thought, hey, why not check out how the manga's doing? Pokémon Adventure Scarlet and Violet began its monthly serialization in August 2023. The story follows the adventures of self-proclaimed Prince Violet Lang in his quest to collect the Herba Mystica, and also a mysterious treasure hunter girl named Scarlet Koito. Tagging along with Violet is Arven, and for Scarlet is Nemona. And hey, Penny's there too sometimes. Some of you may remember I actually covered the first couple chapters of this story when it came out, but I kinda fell off reading it. That aside, let's get into the actual meat of the story. The story of this manga pretty much follows the same as the game, where the students of the academy, in this case Uva, are asked to go out and complete their treasure hunt. In the games, there's the Starfall Street, Path of Legends, and Victory Road, and these are all present in the manga too. Violet's main goal, as I said, is to find the Herba Mystica in order to strengthen his Miraidon and increase its speed, as he aims to become the fastest in the region. Due to mutual interest, he also helps out Arven as he wants to heal his Mabosstiff, so naturally, he takes part in the Path of Legends. The two trainers team up together in fighting against Titan Pokemon, and even some Paradox ones. But that's not all, as he also encounters Penny, who through her Cassiopeia personality has him take part in Starfall Street, fighting against Giacomo of Team Star. On the other side of things, we have Scarlet, who doesn't give a damn about the Academy's quote-unquote treasure hunt, deciding to follow her own plan of things, which involves fighting the gym leaders in order to get information of the Treasures of Ruin, going up against the likes of Katie, Brassius, and right now Iono. But when she wins, she doesn't even take the gym badges, since as I said, she only cares about the information. So as you can see, story-wise, the manga chooses to keep things pretty safe, and not strays too far from the games, like they may have done in the past. However, the major pull of this arc, as you may have noticed, comes from the collection of characters. Just like in the Scarlet and Violet games, the characters are where the Paldea region truly shines. Both protagonists have interesting pasts and goals, and are definitely not lacking in the personality and attitude department. We'll start with Violet. As I said earlier, this guy is a self-proclaimed prince who isn't royalty at all, instead just being some rich spoiled brat. His parents and all their servants called him a prince while he was growing up, so he grew up believing he really was one. Fortunately, one of the butlers was close with Violet and tried to get him to realize he really isn't a prince, hoping one day the kid will be able to integrate himself into normal society, but he died before achieving his goal. So Violet's parents commissioned a Rotom phone with a mustache and the guy's personality, naming it Rotoji, a mix of Rotom and Oji-chan, which translates to grandpa in Japanese. Violet follows the spoiled rich kid archetype pretty much to a T, but he's still nice and well intentioned with his actions, accepting any request without hesitation. Also, did I mention this guy is super sheltered, which matches up well with his travelling buddy Arven, who's his opposite, having no pampering parents for reasons, and having to take care of himself entirely. Normally, there would be no way for these two to get along, but with Rotoji being there to help Arven through Violet's annoying requests, the two make a solid team. Also, as you may have noticed, Violet's design is definitely much better than Florian's, who's got that basic NPC design, switching everything up for a more princely-like appearance. Moving on to Scarlet, she's a lot more mysterious than her cheerful co-protagonist, instead being a cruel, heartless, massive edgelord. All these characteristics may sound like a bad thing, but when I tell you that this girl is locked in, I mean she's locked in, cause she'll do anything to reach her goal. Whether it's entering a school illegally, falsifying documents, or worst of all, becoming an idol. Scarlet's past is one shrouded in question. A year before the story began, she was found unconscious by Team Star, who nursed her back to good health. In return of their kindness, she leaves the team without even so much as a thank you. Other than that, we don't seem to know anything much about her. She seems to have had a rough past, possibly to do with poverty, as hinted in the story, which would also make sense as she's meant to be the other side to Violet. She views the people around her as either a waste of time or at least expendable in some way, and the only thing on her mind is treasure hunting or food. Now I've got a fun fact for you. Scarlet's design is actually based off Jenna Ortega's Wednesday Addams, which I've never seen, so you can all tell me if they're similar or not. Oh, and also Jupiter of Team Galactic. With these two as the main characters, it's kinda you love them or hate them. Or you're just weirdly in the middle since we haven't had much time with them. From what I've seen so far, the community definitely seems to like Scarlet more than Violet, but he still has his fair share of fans too. On the topic of characters, we should talk about the Pokemon, as after all, this is a Pokemon manga. Of course we have Miraidon, who's exactly the same as his game counterpart, but also accompanying Violet's team is his starter Crocodile, his Smoliv, Nimble, and Clodsire. As someone else pointed out, pretty slow Pokemon for the so-called Prince of Speed. As for Scarlet, her team is pretty stacked already, with Floragato, Terraflying Pikachu, Tarantula, Palafin, and Armarouge, all pretty early in the story. She also seems to be collecting Gimme Gold coins, so there's a chance a Goldengo is on the way. As for how much character these Pokemon have, well, it's hard to tell, since they don't get much time to show their personality, unlike in things like the anime. But from what I've read, they all seem to match their designs. Armarouge is a serious Pokemon, which she actually got from Mela of Team Star, Crocodile is an impatient Pokemon, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Maybe we'll see the Pokemon Express more down the line. And speaking of, let's talk about the current state of the manga. Right now, the manga's at 12 chapters with 0 delays as far as I'm aware. Volume 1 has been released in Japan and Volume 2 is on its way. A chapter gets released on the 20th or 21st of each month. So if you want to keep up to date with it, I'll link down below the link to the CoroCoro website, where they publish the manga in HD. Only downside is it's in Japanese, which brings us to the elephant in the room. What's the current status on the manga getting localized? Well, you'll be happy to know that this is confirmed in English translation of the first volume, which will be released on the 11th of February 2025. But if you really can't wait, some fans have done scanlations, which you can find linked on Reddit or on other manga sites. But that's pretty much the current status of the Pokemon Adventures Scarlet and Violet manga. As for my own personal thoughts, I think this series has a lot of good source material to work with, so I'm not worried too much about the story, unless it gets rushed. Then that would be a very bad different case. The manga already has experience with taking on more serious Pokemon stories, so seeing how they'll cook with a game that already has dark moments will be interesting to see. The characters seem interesting and I definitely want to find out more about them. My predictions for their character arc is that Violet will go through a harsh reality check, maybe from Arven or Scarlet, which will humble him and make him more aware of what life is really like, and Scarlet will probably have to learn not to take things so seriously and live a life with more trust in others. As of right now, I'm more on Team Scarlet's side than Violet. She's pretty cool, can't lie. But who knows, maybe I'll change by the end of the story. I also should mention that at the end of the Sword and Shield arc, Henry did learn of the Paldea region and a Pokemon that wields a tool for a weapon, so he's going to be arriving here sometime. Whether or not he gets a full-fledged appearance though is another story. It could very well just be left as a cameo. Everything's paced relatively well, and we're not wasting time on unnecessary things. The Sword and Shield manga only had 43 chapters, and that included the base game and its DLC storylines. So with that in mind, we can probably expect around the same for this arc. Gym leader wise, Scarlet's taken down 3, and Titan Pokemon wise, Violet's taken down 3. As for Team Star, only Giacomo's appeared properly. If they're planning on doing the DLC, then things might get a bit dicey, especially with the whole Kieran sub-story, as well as the new legendaries. You know, I'm only now just realizing how much content Scarlet and Violet had. The game's even got its own epilogue. In a worst case unfortunate scenario, all of this stuff probably will get glossed over. But who knows? These are just my own thoughts and opinions. Let me know your own in the comment section down below. What do you think of this arc right now? Who do you prefer, Scarlet or Violet? Do you have high hopes for it, or do you think it will fall short of greatness like other arcs? But before any of that, let me know if you even knew it existed, because a lot of the Pokemon mangas do go under the radar. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more Pokemon manga videos. With all that said and done, I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.